Hello, and a massive hello to everybody. Hope everybody's having a great day. 27/03/2016. No trade calls, recommendations, every response for their own stuff. We're here for educational purposes only. The fact that you're listening to this means you've ready to understand. You accept all disclosure disclaimers here on the website and we're also understanding that we're just performing some technical analysis in a learning context for educational purposes only. So what's happening this week? So we're going into semi-holiday week, right? And last days of the month. So keep in mind that a lot of Europe, UK are going to be closed on Monday, so could be fairly slow day, right? US will kick back off into the swing of things, and we'll have to see what happens in terms of the earnings calendar or the data calendar. I'd say the two main things to watch out for is Yellen speaking on Tuesday on the 29th, right? Heads up for that. And then apart from the other data points, keep in mind that we do have, the main point for the week is going to be the non-farm payrolls on Fridays, right? So that's what we've got shaping up. So if I'm going to go on the chart, so try and keep this as quick as possible, and just a reminder, just go through what we went through last week. So we discussed a lot of moves in detail. We had the 1 hour live session, so the recording is up on YouTube. But so we'll take care. We'll start where we left off there. So basically, what we were looking here, no big change in terms of yen, was that basically we were stuck, and the two levels to look at or that we were interested was basically 115 or 111, and as long as this 111 held, we felt that we were going to try to rotate all the way back up and possibly all the way into the 115, and this was a big pivotal level, right? So we started the week, we started to rotate, and the rotation is holding. So as long as we hold above here, base case is still for a move back higher, even though there'll probably be a lot of sellers here, a lot of choppiness in the move. But this rotation back into the 111s, and we discussed in detail, so if you want to go through it, we discussed how we would trade this to the long side in terms of actual trading strategies, try to build a position here all the way back up. So that's in play. No real change where we left off last week in terms of USD JPY. Gold, continuing our base case assumption hypothesis that this is we had these two attempts to take out these highs that both failed. Our base case is still that these are swing highs and that we need to retrace back down into 1200. 1150 would be a gift, right, to get back long or something like that. So just full disclosure, we're positioned short here off these failures. And as we said, as long as we close below the 1250, we start to close below this level, this would be constructive to the downside. The primary target is still 1200, and this would be ideal. So in terms of range, we're still looking at 1300, 1250. 1200, the 1250 mean pivotal, broke, held below last week, moving down to low range, very, very nice. If we start to close any day closes below the 1200, then these 1150s are going to come into play. These moving averages will start to rotate higher, and they will come into play as support. But so far, we really can't complain on the outlook from last week. Again, more detail in the latest recording on YouTube. S&P, again, we felt that if we were going to fail, we had to fail from a higher level, and so we're still expecting this to continue to trade higher. We had a very bullish close, and so it would lead us to believe that we need to go and test those highs again. A lot of nice intraday trading opportunities, even on Friday. We came back down into this nice little low point that had. Oops, did not mean to do that. Came in, nice previous resistance, basing here. We talked about this being the low for the day in if we couldn't break lower, and then we rotated back higher. So very nice action. In the bigger picture, the story hasn't really changed. It's all about these highs. The range we're looking at has not changed at all. Go back to the last recording if you're interested. We're still looking at 1250 high. 2050 high, 2000 mid, 1950 low. So far, the high range, the 2050 is still defended. As long as we get daily closes here below, we like swing shorts, building some kind of swing shorts for the bigger correction lower, or tactical longs for intraday moves. If we get a daily close back below the 2050, then we would assume that the 2100s are in play. Again, we discussed, I don't want to go through all the things we've discussed before. We've talked about this in a lot of detail in the previous recording. Cable, came back down. If it was going to find support, would have probably found a support where it found support before. A nice little basing action. We expect this to be very choppy. We expect this to be a lot of choppy action here with, not that interesting in terms of positioning. We think in terms of bigger positioning, this could be an interesting short zone. This could be an interesting long zone right here. Very tactical plays, not too interested in getting in trouble. A lot of event risk with the referendum. CAD. Basically, we're talking, it's all a dollar move, right? We talked about that as far as the way we're looking at it. 29's hold, no trade below the 129. We expect 135s to attract, so we're rotating back higher. We're going to have to deal with 200, but this is really a very interesting area of resistance going into the week. 135 mid, 129 low, 140 high. It's all about action around the 135 mark. Right? Nothing has changed. USD CHF, we said if anything, all those moves into these lows for us offered interesting risk reward for a move back into the 200 or a move back into this 50 and the 100. Nice little bounce off that area, discussed in detail in the last recording. Euro, no change in outlook. Our assumption is still that as long as these highs hold, we expected to see the move towards the 1200 being 112 being the pivotal level. Daily closes below heavy, daily closes above, could try and catch a bit of a bid tone. So as long as it's closing below the 112, we still expect heavy for a move back into the 110.50s. This is the pivotal level. A lot of chop inside this range, but still looking for this to try to correct a little bit more. Aussie, we discussed the fact that this failure here was a very nice daily failure at this previous area, and we said, as long as this holds, we expect this to try and make its way all the way back down into these three moving averages or this previous resistance zone that should act as support. We said especially daily closes below the 75.20s would be constructive. As long as it holds below here in terms of a day close, expect to see more downside and try to make a move back into the shaded area. In terms of Kiwi, also another failure ahead of those highs. We said as long as we hold below this, we expect it to come back into these three moving averages on the daily, this whole cluster of support. So this was much nicer, a lot more velocity of the move here on Kiwi than on Aussie, but still the same kind of move. If you look at it in terms of those moving averages, very similar to Euro 2, right? And last but not least, we talked about very nice daily close on crude. And we said as long as those highs hold, what we would expect this to be heavy and to come back into these 37.70s that were the previous big level, right? So big bull bear line. This is the target we were looking at when we got this basing action here. First on the failure, we looked for it again here. We got it, and then we got the extreme move or the aggressive move back into the 200 DMA. Daily close, very nice rotation. As long as it continues to catch a bid here, don't be surprised to try and come up and fail from a higher level and take out these highs. Daily close below here, then probably expect it to start to trade quite heavy again, okay? So guys, I wish you all an awesome week. This was fairly quick because there's not an awful lot that happened. All the levels are exactly the same, and if you're interested in any of the levels, I encourage you to look at the recording that's on YouTube from last week, because that's about 45-50 minutes long, and we discussed all these moves, kind of different ways to look at it, to interpret, to trade them in a lot more detail, okay? So I hope you enjoy. Have an awesome one. I'll see you around on Twitter. Have an awesome one, guys. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening, as always.